Sometimes as car enthusiasts, we just have to face the music, right? I mean, there's going to be a time, whether we like it or not, where we need to switch up the old daily to something a little more reliable, a little more economical, maybe a little more functional. However, that doesn't mean that you still can't just go out and modify it, because you know, that's just what we do, and that's what we do well. We can never keep anything stock. And a car that has been doing that pretty damn well over the last actual almost decade has been the second generation of the Ford Fusion. We see people snagging these cars up all the time, throwing them on some kind of suspension, whether it be coilovers, lowering springs, air suspension, slapping some wheels on it, maybe a little bit of chrome delete here and there, and they look pretty dang good. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. What is going on, everybody? Jels from Fitment Industries, Fitment Industries Garage, and we are back with another episode of What Wheels Fits. And today specifically, we are going to be covering what wheels fit the second generation Ford Fusion. Real quick before we get into today's video, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe. It helps us out a ton. And of course, once you watch this video and you now know what wheels are going to fit your Ford Fusion, don't forget to help you out and hopping over to fitmentindustries.com. Check out all the wheels, tires, suspension options that we have available for not only your Fusion, but anything else that you might have. First things first, here we are going to be looking at a general fitment range here to 18 to 22 inches for the diameter, 8 to 9 inches for the width, and an offset landing somewhere between plus 35 and plus 53. And the tough part here is going to be having to deal with that lovely 5x108 bolt pattern, as it's just not an extremely common bolt pattern. So that gives us an idea of where to start, but still gives us an actual huge range of sizes and fitments that fall within there. So what we're going to do is take a look at some of the Fusions sitting in our gallery right now and go over what other people are running as far as wheels, tires, and suspension to give a first-hand look at what certain setups look like on these cars. We'll start off with some more modest setups, ones that would be good for like daily driving, all that sort of good stuff, and then kind of work our way up to some more and more aggressive setups as we go down the list. That being said, let's go ahead and get into our first car of the day, which is going to be this 2016 with some TSW Mechanica wheels. Now these are 20 by 8.5 with a plus 46 offset for the size, paired with a set of Toyo Extensa HP tires, 235/45 for the size of those, and then setting on some Godspeed Project coilovers. As you can see, you get a pretty decently flush fitment, maybe just a little bit of tuck in the rear, even with that high of an offset, and there are no notes of any rubbing issues or having to roll any fenders to get this setup to work. Overall, a great look for this car, and as you can see, you get pretty low with it as well with the help from those coilovers. Next up, we have a 2017 with some Advanti Racing Catalan wheels, 20 by 8.5 with a plus 42 offset, so keeping the same size but dropping that offset by 4 millimeters. For the tires, we have some Nitto NT555 G2s, 255/35 for the size, and then again, sitting on some Godspeed Project coilovers. Again, we see no rubbing issues here or any other modifications needed to get this setup to work, and getting a similar fitment to the last car that we just looked at. Moving along here, we get to this white 2015 with some Rotiform RSEs. Now I think these look amazing on these cars. These are 19 by 8.5 with a plus 35 offset. So even though we are going down an inch in diameter, we are dropping that offset to help get a more flush fitment. For tires, we have some Toyo Extensa HPs again, 235/35 for the size, and then sitting lowered with help from some Steeda lowering springs. Overall, a flush fitment with no rubbing and no other modifications needed to get it to work. Up next, we have a similar setup with this 2014, rocking some TSW Veils, 19 by 8.5 plus 35 offset, 235/35 for the tire size, and instead of lowering springs, we have some BC Racing coilovers. So getting the same fitment but lower and about -3 degrees in the camber in the rear with help from the natural camber that comes into play. Still no mention of fender rolling or rubbing issues with this car. Getting more aggressive here as we take the switch over to some air suspension with this 2018 with some Rotiform CVT wheels. For size, we're looking at a 19 by 8.5 plus 35, so similar to most of the cars that we just looked at. However, we're dropping that tire size down quite a bit to a 215/45, and then of course sitting on some D2 Racing air suspension. No notes of having to trim anything or having to roll anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if it would actually help out just a little bit to help get the car lower. Stepping up a bit more, we get to this 2017 with some Black Diamond BD1s, 20 by 9 with a plus 15 offset. Tires are looking at some Lionheart LH5s, 235/20 for the size, and then sitting on some Airlift Performance air suspension. So a pretty big setup for this car, but it pulls it off pretty damn well. Which brings us to our last car of the day, which is going to be this white 2013 with some Water-Cooled Industries MT10 wheels. Now, we actually are looking at a staggered setup here, 18 by 9 plus 45 up front and 18 by 10.5 plus 45 in the rear, paired with some Atsu FP7000 tires, 235/40 and a 25-35 for the size. And then again, on some Airlift Performance air suspensions. Fenders are rolled and they are pulled just a little bit to help make some extra room, and that's really about it. No mention of having to get any adjustable control arms or anything like that to get this setup to work. So there you have it. Those are some solid examples of some of the second-gen Ford Fusions that are sitting in the Fitment Industries gallery right now that you can go take a look at for yourself. Plus, there's many more over there if you didn't see anything that you specifically loved. You can go check it out for yourself, fitmentindustries.com. Check out the gallery, and of course, go check out some wheels, tires, and suspension for your Ford Fusion or anything else that you might have. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and drop down below what you'd like us to cover next. I'm Gels. We'll see you later. Peace.